Now on to our interview with our very welcome guest, Gary Griffith. You're well making news these days.
Yeah, boy.
Would you care to answer the poll question, sir?
No.
You don't want to answer it? But he aspiring to lead the country.
I know, but I just seeing the question here, and I'm hearing Richard.
Right, so
I would love to hear
okay.
Richard's view on it before I make a comment, because it's something
Well,
I'm
I just
probably
think,
missing.
while I think, Gary, I think the Constitution should protect your freedom of religion, and that should be protected. That whoever you want to believe in, you should be able to believe in. And
Yes.
I totally believe that that should be protected. But I do not believe that the preamble should reference that this Constitution is based on God or anything like that. I think the Constitution itself should be secular, putting religion in its place as a protected enclave in terms of a right to it, but that God and the recognition of a supremacy of a God in terms of guiding the Constitution, I don't think should be there. I think it should be secular. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and that's what I think. How the question is set. If it is that people look at it from that perspective, they will agree. But then I think most of the persons who will say yes, it should be, is from a generalized perspective of you should have some God that should be there towards guiding us as a country. So it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of how you perceive the question to be. A
That's a
politically
very
correct
political
answer.
answer, but to take win.
You're shaking
that's
Can you give us a yes or no, please? Based on how you perceive the
I
question.
agree with both.
Both points of views are valid.
Yes, agreed.
Before we get in this substantive topic, we had your very, very close friend Philip Alexander on a week and a half ago, who indicated that a ceasefire has been broken between yourself and him. Do you have any idea what it is about?
No, I don't. Good morning, everyone. I never had a war in the first place with my only political opponent would have been who I want to replace. So if it is that he had a war with me, I wasn't firing any scuds. So there was never any concern that I had. If you notice, I never had anything to say about, and that's why I find it was amazing. People kept saying, both of you all need to stop. But I was never saying anything. It's like,
Right.
a neighbor throwing stones on your roof and the other neighbors telling you the both of you all need to stop it. I say, but I'm not doing anything. They say, but the noise hitting your roof bothering me to sleep. We never had anything to say. We have never been involved. Why would I want to be involved in attacking another political party that I do not want to replace? My job is to target somebody who I want to replace, and that is what politics is about. My job is not to fight for a bronze medal. I'm fighting for gold. So my concept has always been working and communicating and having debates with the political party who I want to replace.
Right. So I want to have this. I have this idea in my mind. I want to have you and Philip on next week sometime together. Would that be possible with you?
It depends on what the topic is. If the topic is
Topic is
anything,
politics in Trinidad and Tobago. What if topic will be bread?
I don't know. It could be SSA.
Pretty God.
Philip is not an expert on SSC. Anyway, I'll call both of you offline. Congratulations. I see you've announced St. Joseph. Why St. Joseph?
Well, why not? I spent half of my life in St. Joseph. I have been the nominated on 3 occasions by a political party in two of those whilst in government to be the candidate for St. Joseph in 2007. In fact, for 2 years, I was actually the shadow member of parliament on behalf of Jerry Etming when he was the member of parliament, because I was earmarked to replace him in 2007, and then they had the COP breakaway with the UNC. 2013, I was supposed to be the candidate. 2015, I would have been the candidate as well. So I know a lot about St. Joseph, and then more importantly, who wins St. Joseph wins the election. That's the cut and trust. That has basically been the avenue that is the place that you win that seat, and that's it. So me going into St. Joseph, that's why automatically Terence D'Alsing started to become an opera singer. Press conferences started coming out with a prime minister in Ireland giving a call to send 2 ministers to attack Gary Griffith for 90 minutes. So obviously the panic button has been pressed, and in the eyes of the PNM, they're saying, okay, so we have 22 seats. That's 1 down now, 1 more to go.
Is it that you Minister Lial Singh really won that seat by a very slim margin against a very pretty unknown Aloy at the time. So that strategically, it's you see it as an easier seat to win.
Well, no, definitely not. It's a marginal seat. But as I said, there are persons within that area that will know a lot about St. Joseph. The same Aloy Hunt was my batch. She and I joined the military together. So I will work alongside all of these individuals, not just to win St. Joseph, but to fix St. Joseph. So, so it is not a case of looking for the easiest seat. It is the most critical seat to win. You win St. Joseph, on most occasions, it becomes a flip over to win Tunapuna, Lupino Bonaire. And along that line, I think really and truly, I have seen St. Joseph as being that bastard constituency where what has happened for the last 9 years.
I am St. Joseph, me in a bastard community.
No, listen, let me finish. Seen at the eyes of a member of parliament where you fight to win the seat and then you ignore them, sideline them, and you do not serve them. So my point is, if this constituency is so critical, you don't try to show your importance to win the seat, and then for 9 years you disown the seat. So
well, Gary, if I could intervene, since we have a constituent here who just proclaimed he's a constituent, did you feel that you were ignored?
Who's
Dr. Richards just said he's a constituent.
Yeah. Well, and definitely.
Were you ignored, Paul? Were you ignored? Do you feel that the constituency was ignored?
Gary Griffith is the guest.
I know he was going to be that. You can't put Paul in a situation like that. The man is a senator.
I'm not going to say that.
So, taking away Paul, almost every other person in St. Joseph, they have been sidelined. And one of the main reasons for that, gentlemen, it has to do with a serious issue that I've always seen in our politics. 41 persons go up as candidates to be a member of parliament, which really and truly is supposed to be the highest qualified councillor. That's basically what it should be. And then when you win 22, 19 or whatever, 15, 16, 17 of you all become ministers. They spend 4 to 5 days for that week in that ministry because you have your Prado, you have your salute, you have your massive staff, and you ignore the little wooden shed that you have known as a ministry, as a member of parliament. And you spend 2 hours every Wednesday to try to deal with something that people put you there expecting you to be serving them 168 hours a week. And that is my concern, because the ministers, they forget who put them there. It would be so good if one day we could have we talk about constitutional reform. Persons who are appointed as members of parliament stay in your constituency and serve. And that has always been the problem.
Terence Lial Singh has won that seat on 3 occasions. A by-election, which he won in 2013, I think. He also won in 2015 and 2020. So, though it is a margin, and you're correct about that, he won consistently 3 times.
Yes, that was against Ian Allen, Basan Barrett, and Colonel Aloy Hunt. And again, there will be certain differences that you will see at this time. I mean, not apart from myself, Gary Griffith is not just about the candidate, but it's about the maths. The maths is that when you have a third party that can possibly work in an alignment with another party, it will always speak annihilation for the PNM, especially in St. Joseph. So, and you'd have seen it in 1986, you'd have seen it in 2010. And again, it would have been a safer seat for the UNC pre-2010, but then the EBC somehow decided to find a way and took 2 of the polling districts from St. Anne's, shifted to St. Joseph, and those were PNM safe areas, and then took 2 UNC areas and conveniently decided to shift it across to St. Augustine. These things happen in EBC, we understand, there's usually a reason for that, even though the numbers stay the same.
But Gary, what's a little puzzling, but I shouldn't say puzzling to me, maybe I could, it's just for some clarification, because you've announced that you're going to be the representative of the NTA for that seat in the 2025 general elections. What happens in a situation? Is this a final decision? That's what I'm really trying to get. Because what happens if, for example, you do go into some sort of accommodation with the UNC, and the UNC has a candidate that they want for St. Joseph? Well,
that's where the accommodation comes in. I will expect the UNC at this time to be looking for candidates for all 41 constituencies, and we will do the same. That does mean that at the end of the day, when it is a candidate is confirmed, it's nomination day. So any number could play between now and then. So if by some chance there's an alliance which was very successful in the local government election, getting 60,000 more votes than the PNM, which was for every 5 votes, 3 voted for the alliance and 2 voted for the PNM. That is bad licks, and that was a 30% voter turnout. So a 60% voter turnout, you could probably, if you double it by both, you'll get 120,000 difference, which is the exact number of 2010. So the pattern is the same. So if it is that we put a candidate for Samuel Baratari and the UNC has one, and an alliance, we will look at the best option, we look at the best fit. That's how these things work. And then that person now will step down, will now become the de facto, if you want to call it, campaign person to make sure that all of those votes from that individual, from that party, will now go towards that individual. And so basically, it's a runaway. It's a runaway victory. So, say for example, the UNC has their candidate for Samuel Baratari, and we have one, and this decides that they keep their candidate. That person will now make sure those ONR, COP, NTA, NAR type voters will now vote for that UNC candidate, and vice versa in St. Joseph.
No, I suppose we'll all see how it plays out as the 2025 election gets closer, and those accommodations work or don't.
Exactly. But the concern was with me making that announcement, the panic button was pressed. So it is not by chance. If you all take a look at the editorial in today's Express, let
me just read a piece for you, and we read it earlier on.
Yeah, we did read it earlier on, and yeah.
But for those who may have joined us late, and to be fair, and they said it in the editorial, the Express holds no brief for you. The Express has held your feet to the fire.
Oh yeah.
And I'm putting that mildly. So for the Express to basically come out, I wouldn't say batting for you, but really being very cynical
Factual.
And condemnatory about the press conference held by Ministers Hines and Brown. Is it Monday? On Monday. Yeah, this day before yesterday.
Tuesday. Monday was a holiday.
Tuesday. My apologies. And the start of it is the opening salvo to me, which I mean, the start is the mild part, and I'm quoting as National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines has come to be defined by his wordy and meandering expositions in crime-related issues. On Tuesday, however, Mr. Hines reached new heights of vacuity when he called a news conference to cast blame on former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith for the scandal still unfolding within the SSA. Now, there are several things to unpack in this since the press conference has been broadcast and or published. First of all, is it you who hired Pastor Brown as an SRP?
Yeah. I'm not too sure. I think so. I believe so. But I know that Pastor Brown was working with previous commissioners before. So I don't know if it is that he was appointed as an SRP and I just renewed it. But he was working closely with the Special Anti-Crime Unit since the Manning era. He was working with other commissioners. They knew him well before me. But also when the request came from the SSA, which is done on a regular basis, it is approved, and then that is why it was renewed by 2 commissioners after me. So that the sad thing about this, to clarify, the SSA has absolutely no involvement with the police service. It is unbelievable that a Minister of National Security will try to blame the Commissioner of Police and the police service because of the so-called bacchanal taking place in the SSA. I was a Minister of National Security. I know SSA reports directly to the Minister. The big concern is what they were trying to say is that the SSA acquired weapons before November last year until Cabinet approved. This is only in a dictatorial country can we believe that politicians can give approval for people to carry firearms. So Keith Rowley and Fitzgerald Hines obviously do not understand.
Put a pause there. It's not I didn't interpret it as a blanket statement. My understanding is that SRPs are also precepted like any other police officer. Would that be correct? Or some SRPs?
Once you're a police officer, you have that authority as serving police officer to carry a firearm, similar to soldiers.
Who would issue a firearm user? Who would authorize the use of an SRP like a Pastor Brown to carry a firearm?
Once you're a police officer, you have automatic. That's the point I'm trying to say, gentlemen. Rowley and Hines do not understand the law. If you are
but to me, the issue is not just a firearm. but the type of weapons that that Pastor Brown would have returned. Would it be normal for an SRP to have high-powered weapons?
It's not all right, because they may have SRPs working with Stuart Young's family and his 2 children, and they will have the similar firearms. The SSA equates with the CIA. For anyone to think that the CIA will only have a little handgun like this, it shows our ignorance. Some people need to step further than Tobago and understand national security. You could think that the CIA will be told, well, you're on the CIA, you're not supposed to have those type of weapons. These persons in the SSA go through in volatile areas. They have to have their car parked 2 o'clock in the morning in hotspot areas. Some of them have to be involved in rubbing shoulders with criminal elements in the underworld. They have to be involved as covert operatives. You're telling me that all before November, members of the SSA should not have carried firearms? That is total nonsense. What has happened for decades?
As I said, Garrett, the issue is not firearms. Is it normal for them to carry high-powered weapons?
No, I just mentioned the fact that what the Prime Minister said is before November they were not supposed to until Cabinet approved it. One, Cabinet cannot approve it. You are a politician. You cannot approve firearms. 2, all persons from before, if you are SRP or a police officer, you are entitled to carry a firearm. I'm going to answer your question, Paul. I just want to clarify first. 3, for all heads of the SSA before Roger Best and others, they will have a FUL. From the FUL, persons can be trained and precepted similar to security officers in companies, and through precepted you get a FUC to carry a firearm, which is critical. 4, for Fitzgerald Hines to say that I gave authorization for somebody to carry a firearm in the SSA shows how desperate he is. That is like saying that the Chief of Defense Staff gave approval for a constable to sign for a firearm in a Tobago camp. The Chief of Defense Staff has no time to do that. So you think I will have time to go and contact Roger Best or Pastor Brown to say, I want you to take that weapon? Of course not. So the answer lies in that if he's an SRP and he was able to acquire that type of weapon, then the director of the SSA will explain why it is that he was carrying, because the SRP was seconded to the SSA. And that is the point. So you can't come up. So every single time an SRP signs for a weapon, the Commissioner of Police has to justify the type of weapon the SRP signs for. That is
if you could clarify something, Gary. So is it true to say that members of the SSA need not be SRPs?
Correct. So there are many persons in the SSA that will be civilians. There will be some who are civilians who need a weapon, so they have to be trained, precepted to get an FUEC if the SSA director feels that they need to carry a firearm to protect themselves. SSA as well, they needed these weapons. What I've been told is that these weapons were being used, the SSA was using it to secure the camera, the CCTV installation in volatile areas, and they needed to protect the installation of these cameras. But that's a decision made by the SSA director, because these type of weapons would have been available to the SSA, because these weapons would have been handed over from SORT to the NOC and the SSA in Kamuto. Nothing to do with my jurisdiction for me to say that I have authority and I am directing. So all of that was a lie. I will have time to waste to call a pastor to tell him to take an automatic weapon. That is total stupidity. If the director of the SSA feels like, look, we are going to a hotspot area 2 o'clock in the morning to put up CCTVs, and we need proper security to ensure that these persons are protected, he would make that judgment call, because he has the armory that has accessibility for those type of weapons. What does that have to do with a commissioner of police? That is unbelievable that anybody, and I tell you, the one radio station, anybody who wants to be any dumber, all you have to do is tune on to 91.9, and you will hear persons trying to justify this.
So I'm just trying to understand it myself. So the head of the SSA himself or herself, they can authorize the release of firearms to people in the SSA, or is it that the SSA personnel have to be precepted first?
Oh yeah, it must be precepted. Yeah, they must. Not every SSA member would be, because many of them will be tech persons who will be in offices, so you don't need to carry a firearm. But there will be some persons who are civilians that, because of their training and what they're doing as covert operatives, they will need a firearm to protect their lives, similar to the CIA. That is common sense. So, but you must be trained now, you must be precepted, and then you will get the FUEC. using the FUL of the SSA director. That is one aspect. Then you have the other aspect.
FUC, just a second. The FUC gives the SSA head the authority to grant the FUL to people under their remit.
Not the FUL. The SSA director has a FUL. So if it's similar to what a commissioner does, a man who has a supermarket, the commissioner of police can give, if that person who owns a supermarket has a FUL and he wants to have private security officers just for his company, it's like similar to estate constables then. He will then send a list to the commissioner. They must be properly trained, vetted, scrutinized, similar to a security guard and amalgamated or whatever who wants a firearm. They can now get an FUEC under the FUL of the owner of the supermarket. So you could do it for the owner of a supermarket and you wouldn't do it for the SSA. So these individuals who require the firearms get it like that. Other persons may be serving defense force and police officers, similar to Pastor Brown. They would not need that because they are serving police officers or the members of the defense force. Then they are retired. That will also get, but if you're retired, you must have a FUEC. You must be to be precepted to have access to a firearm.
Now, by my understanding, I'm going to go back to the issue of the differentiation of the types of weapons that SRPs or any officer can or cannot have access to. And the November cabinet situation that Minister Hines referenced in terms of potentially changing the law. Is there a difference, and I'm asking because I don't know, in the types of weapons? Because there's a big difference between a handgun and an AR-15 assault rifle. Obviously, you're militarily trained, so you know that. Is it that any officer, once you're a part of the police service or an SRP, does have access to high-powered assault weapons?
Well, it depends on where the person is. I'll give an example, like Stuart Young, if he and his family want to be secured, you could say, well, why are you carrying that? But if the SRP, and if the person may be an SRP, if he is working under the Minister of National Security, he may contact the DCP and get it signed at the police headquarters. So it's all based on who gives the authorization. It certainly wasn't me. So for Hines to mislead the country and say that I gave authorization for this man to take, I know nothing about this. How could I know? So what happens is you have units in the police marine branch, and there are SRPs in the police marine branch, and they will sign for an automatic weapon if they're going in for a patrol 2 o'clock in the morning to the Caroni Swamp. It's all based on the circumstance. You need, however, you need justification. If you're SRP that you're just an office clerk, and you're an office clerk, for example, in the finance department.
But I would imagine some level of authorization at some level would come into that play in terms of authorizing a high-powered weapon. And it's not just somebody signed for it as opposed to what would they consider normal.
And further to what Paul is asking, there isn't authorization written?
No, right. So what happens, and that's what I was trying to state.
It's your fact of whether.
That's what I'm trying to state. So, for example, if you're a SRP in the finance department in the police admin building, on what grounds you're signing for an assault weapon, and if so, who would have given you the authorization? You will always have there must be justification. You can't say because I'm an SRP, it automatically gives me the right to sign for that.
And somebody has to authorize it.
Correct, and not the commissioner.
What would that be? What level would that be?
Well, that is where the SSA needs to answer. They will need to answer to justify why it is that. And again, like SWAT, for example, SORT, there were persons who were SRPs. Are you saying that if they were going in volatile areas, dealing with hotspot areas, going after criminal elements in areas, they would carry an assault weapon because it's justified, because the man is going, he's going to be up against heavy firepower. That is
just questioning that. We're trying to ascertain the authorization level.
No, I'm trying to give you an example. So if an SRP or whoever signs for it, there's justification because SWAT has their armory. SSA has their own armory that they got that was handed over through the PNM government that gave all of these weapons to the SSA. And that's what Hines is not stating. So all of these weapons, instead of coming back under the threshold of to be owned by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Armory, it remained in Komuto under the control of the SSA. And that the National Operations Center, they put it under the SSA. So it is the PNM government that gave all of these weapons to the SSA. The PNM government took the NOC that was my brainchild, and put it under the SSA. That's why SSA moved to Knowsley. Knowsley is not supposed to have been for the SSA. Knowsley was the operational command center for any natural or man-made disaster. So if that army is there, if that army is there under the control of the SSA, there will be, whether it's the SSA director, whether it's the deputy director, whether it's the armorer, somebody will have to account for why they gave the pastor those type of weapons. But don't say a commissioner of police, I am the person who gave the approval. That is a lie.
One of the issues that came up, of course, is that the ministers went back to the Andrew Barrett situation and quoted from a Newsday article. And you have denied in the last couple of days or weeks that you said that Belcon and Morris died because they fell off a chair. Did you? Because that was a prevalently carried story. Did you or did you not say that?
Yeah, it was a lie. So let me explain quickly. This is exactly how I stated it. I said the media asked for an immediate response, and again, being the most accessible public servant this country probably ever had, I made myself accessible. So I said there was an initial report. 2 individuals were held. They were and there was some altercation because police officers were also injured. Immediately, what they got information from the family. The family stated that these individuals, usually when they will rape women or whatever, for 24 hours, sometimes they will put them and have them tied up in the forest. So the SWAT knew that that in 24 hours, if they couldn't find Andrea, she will die. Not doing that, she was killed already. So there was no need. There was definitely no need for them to want to cause permanent damage to these individuals. Without the information from these individuals, they thought that she will die. They took them to the hospital. When they took them to the hospital, they immediately directed for a bed to be provided. The individual said he did not want a bed because he was fine. So he said he just wanted a chair to sit on. He then collapsed. When he collapsed, the doctors immediately checked him, and a few hours later he died. That is like saying Paul Richards got up this morning, he went to the supermarket, bought a Coke, and then he got in a car accident. So Gary Griffith is saying because Paul Richards bought a Coke, he got in a car accident. At no time did I ever say he died because he fell off a chair. That was a lie. I said that while seated, he collapsed, and then when he collapsed, the doctors checked to see what was happening. At no time did I ever state that. So the Prime Minister in a public meeting said that he's a liar. I never said that. But it'll keep coming up, it will keep coming up in the 91.
I'm going to play a clip from a different media house that was aired during the press conference. Which it kind of raised my eyebrow too when I saw it earlier on social media, which are statements that are coming from you.
Well, they to come and ask me for an update on an investigation, and I would have told him where to get off. That is one. 2, I would love to do a polygraph test myself and Keith Robbie to show that he's a blatant liar. Show where it is that I would have ever told you that persons died because they fell off a chair. That is a blatant lie. 3, he is trying to allude, and no, this is a matter that took place 4 or 5 years ago, and he keeps holding on to that one point. But let's go back to what this is about. These are 2 men who were involved in the killing of Andrea Barrett. They will never be able to kill again. They will never hurt another female again. And these were 2 men that were involved in over 60 other charges for rape, sexual offenses for women. And that is what Keith Rowley continues to speak about. So because these 2 persons died at the hands of the police, he keeps trying to put me as if I am to blame for that situation. When, by the way...
Right. So I have to admit, when I heard that, it kind of...
Yeah, I heard it yesterday.
It gave me pause for concern. Let me explain why.
And actually, Paul, if you had a loved one...
Let me propose give you proposition first. I know you're ready to jump out. You are a past commissioner of police. You understand the law. Were those 2 gentlemen charged at any time?
No, neither was sought. But why didn't say the same thing?
But I'm asking if they were charged. Gary.
Yeah.
They were never charged, by my understanding. If they were charged correctly, right?
They were charged on 60 occasions for rape.
Right. They were charged. Were they convicted? And I'm not saying that they may not have been culpable. I'm saying they were never convicted.
I know that. That's all. But they were charged. You actually were charged on over 60.
Right. So they were under very, very serious charges. And in the clip you said they died at the hands of police. You sounded very definitive there.
Yeah, they died in police custody. Yes.
Right. It sounds very flippant just to say to me that they will never rape again. They will never kill again. Obviously, because they're now dead. but it sounds like almost like, if, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't seem to have a concern about the justice process that should have been involved.
Right.
And how do you explain that? Because it's because you're past commissioner of police, you operated under the law.
What is the justice process you're speaking about? Because no person has been charged for causing them grievous bodily harm. So you know there's a saying, Paul, you can't be half pregnant. So what is the justice process that you're speaking about? No one has. So if they say that they have not been found guilty for anything as yet, neither has any officer from SWAT. So where's this all about then? So you know, you can't be half pregnant.
I think what Paul is. I think
so you have no concern that they died in the hands of police, on the care of police.
I think Paul is raising the issue of the innocent until proven guilty by court of law.
But it's the same
whether your statement, that they will never kill again, in other words.
Right, I'm coming to that. But yeah. I just want to remind you all, I want you all to say the same thing about SWAT, because no person has been found guilty, charged, or even arrested for the deaths of these two individuals.
But it's not an equal comparison, because the SWAT officers are not dead.
No, what? So only if you die, then justice must be
applied. I'm not saying that, but you're making false comparisons.
No, but you know why? Because you interrupted me 3 times without allowing me to answer the question.
Go ahead.
Is the same way that when the Minister of Foreign Affairs had the audacity to mislead the country to state because of the gross violations of human, how do the US know that or say that if nobody has yet even been arrested? Because you don't know if it was SWAT, you don't know if it was officers from the Arima station because they were there, you don't know if it was some other incident, you do not know. What we know is that they were in police custody, but you automatically label SWAT as a demonistic party, a body, when, by the way, the front page of today's newspaper, based on that same premise, I would expect the US to now shut down all funding because of what's in the front page of today's Guardian with the prisoner being killed. Why don't they say they're going to shut down the prison service? Why don't they blame the prison commissioner for what took place with the prisoner? It shows the double standard. We've had 100 other police killings after this incident, 33 odd per annum. Why don't you blame McDonald Jacob or Earl Christopher? Why don't we shut down the Coast Guard because of the incident that took place with the officers who died, with the persons who died on the Coast Guard? But point being is that this is all politically manufactured. Now, going to your question, Paul, what I will state is that when I stated that, I am speaking on behalf of the hurt and pain that the vast majority of this country get, and I challenge any of the 3 of you all, had that been your daughter, your sister, and this happened, would you shed a tear? All that you will say is we know for sure that what about these 60 families who have suffered and been traumatized because we have a justice system that is so flawed that men could rape and commit sexual offenses to women, and 60 occasions you will get bail and come back out. That should be the concern. So we have these families who are traumatized every time these men come out in public. When these men died, you tell the family of these 60 women, shed a tear. What I'm saying is that we know now that they will never commit such acts, and that is fact, unless it is that they're part of the Walking Dead TV series.
Can I respond now? I don't want to interrupt you again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I share your concern about the gentleman the person who died with the autopsy proved that he died from blunt force trauma, but to me, you don't have to choose a side. You can be deeply concerned and disturbed by the trauma that the families have, something from the 60 charges and the allegations and charges coming from Belcon and Morris. You can do that. But you can equally be concerned about men who die while in police custody. You don't have to choose.
Well, not equally. You can't say equally. No way.
You don't. You can't tell me. Take the word equally. Take the word equally. You can also be concerned that there is a due process for justice to take place. Even when people are under serious charges, you can be concerned about both. Maybe not equally, but you can. So to put one against the other to me is unproductive.
But Paul is not picking one against. I never said there's a need for concern. I never said it's something we should celebrate. What I said is that they will never harm again. And that becomes a concern. It's amazing. So there's a concern about that, rightly so. But what about the concern of the 60 women who have been raped and sexually molested by these individuals?
Nobody diminished that concern.
Yes, it has never once been stated by Heinz. It has never once been stated by yourself. Why are we showing the concern?
That is not true. That is not true. We speak about the concern. I raise protection of women in parliament.
Okay, I think the issue, Gary, is that these men were never convicted. So in the sphere of law and how our law is set up, they're still innocent until proven guilty. So the issue of rapes and stuff before that you're alluding to are all allegations in how the law sees it.
Yeah, and I think what Paul is trying, but we know that they weren't convicted. Again, they will never,
because they weren't convicted. But because that's how the system of justice works in the country.
But what is wrong with stating that they will never be able to harm anybody else again?
Well, because you are now bypassing the issue of innocent until proven guilty and allegations.
What I'm stating is that these people have died.
The statement is that you presumed that they are guilty and they will never be able to do guilty things again.
Yeah, that is my take on
which is fine, which is a fine opinion of a regular citizen, which you now are. But I think what Paul is trying to stress, and Paul could correct me if I'm wrong, is that as a former commissioner of police, don't you think there is a higher burden of duty on you?
No, wrong. If I was a commissioner of police,
articulate issues like that.
If I was a commissioner of police, I'm not a commissioner of police, and I am a politician now. I am a politician, and I am seeing the hurt, the pain of two citizens all over the country. And what we get are politicians in government and radio stations always looking after the rights of criminal elements more than the rights of these people who suffer in this country. And we are doing a whole show because two persons with 60 different charges for rape and whatever, we're like, oh God, Gary said they shouldn't kill again, they won't kill again. But we never put in the trauma of these 60 women who said, listen, my daughter has been raped and this man get back out on bail. There's never a show to deal with that. And that is why I, as a politician, I am going to fight for the rights of law-abiding citizens, because this country has been tilted so much that all we do is focus on the rights of criminal elements. Because we're saying they are right, it is their right. But look at the same thing with SWOT. Nobody in SWOT has been arrested. Nobody has been charged. Yet you have politicians stating gross violations. And you know what? Why I think the US would not shut down the prison service? They wouldn't shut down Coast Guard, the 100 other police killings. It is not because of this situation. It is because of basic petty politics by the PNM. They went to the US and they gave them misinformation. The US wouldn't shut down SWOT because of one incident that you all by just admitted. You can't demonize SWOT when up to now not one person has been charged. Where's the natural justice there? Where's the law there? So you can't be half pregnant to speak about Belcon and the other guy, but in SWOT not one person has been charged.
If you agree with, if you listen to us in the week, we raised questions about the press conference and the reason for the press conferences. So I don't know if you would have seen the show earlier, and as I said, you can have concerns about several things at the same time, as you said, not equally, and to say that radio shows have not raised and media houses have not raised the issues of the families who underwent trauma. We interviewed Andrew Barrett's father. We went and sought him out and interviewed him about what he went through and other family members. So I can't speak for the media house.
But Paul, I'm speaking on behalf of those families because they are not shedding a tear and they know to themselves that their daughter can now walk out on the streets without worrying about being killed because of retaliation by persons who may have raped her and got easy access to bail. I'm speaking on behalf of those persons.
Were you surprised to hear that you were on the investigation? You were on the probe?
No, I'm not on the investigation and probe. That's a lie.
The press conference also revealed that.
Was that Paul? Sorry. Paul?
Go ahead. We had a glitch here. So no, as far as you know, you're not on the investigation.
No, I'm not. It's a lie. To start with, gentlemen.
No, I was saying part of it was you.
Yeah, so, okay. So start with Fitzgerald Hines is a liar. One, a politician can't know that who's on the investigation. That's a police matter. Unless, of course, you have now influenced the police and there are rogue police officers giving you information. So you as a Minister of National Security, if you say that, it means you are affiliating yourself with rogue police officers, one, or two, you are bullying yourself to get information of matters that are under investigation. Whichever, you should resign as a minister, because what he has just stated, that he's aware of people who are under investigation by the police. How would you know that? Unless you're either controlling the police or you're manipulating them. So you should immediately be removed as a minister based on that. That's one. 2, 3 years I have left as commissioner of police. I have never been questioned on anything. So how could I be under investigation for some things 3 years ago and up to now I've never been in question? So Fitzgerald Hines, you're a liar.
I was going to ask that because if you're under investigation and this related to that, there should have been some sort of somebody questioning you or quoting you into an interview.
In fact, your co-host is in court. I have about 4 matters with her. She actually claimed that I'm under investigation, and she will go to court on a witness stand and explain, please show me where I'm under any investigation. And she better come forward and show it, or there'll be more money again she has to pay and more apologies.
What co-host are you talking about? We only have four male co-hosts here.
Well, the other male co-host female co-host you all had before.
Or the previous one.
Yes.
In closing, what would be, well, he said our co-host, we have a female co-host that I know about. We had a previous female co-host. In closing, what would you like to share with the audience? That
again, it was very unfortunate that 2 government ministers would mislead a country to that extent to spend 90 minutes to speak about Gary Griffith. There was not one plan, one policy, nothing. So you do a media conference as a Minister of National Security. And Amy Brown, you know, the Express editorial just speaks about Hines. Amy Brown has been a total failure. You're a Minister of Finance. I remember Stuart Rambachan, every single week was a bilateral agreement with some country to assist in improving security, tourism, some development of this country. Amy Brown has done nothing. And then you have a press conference with the Minister of National Security on security. And instead of you stating, we found a bilateral agreement with the US to have the NYPD work with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, or we're going to get the London Metropolitan Police to assist us in technology. You sit down there because you get instructions from Ireland to battle Gary Griffith and speak about something 3 years ago. And again, I want to re-emphasize the Trinidad and Tobago. If that was the case, that the US did it specifically on that one isolated incident, there have been over 100 police killings after. You have seen the MOVA shootings. How come the US didn't have concerns? And this involved the GB, the IATF, MOPS, Northern Division. And I'm not to say that you're shutting them down here. You don't need to. These things, when these things happen, the officers must be investigated. And if found culpable, no one is above the law, you'll be charged. But to say that the US did it just because of that one incident, that is a lie. Coast Guard, there were persons killed at the hands of Coast Guard. Look at the front page of today's Guardian. Our media will never challenge Amy Brown and say, but if the US did it based on this, why not shutting down the prison service? Why not blaming the prisons commissioner? Why it is the US didn't shut down the IATF and MOPS based on these other police killings? They would not ask Amy Brown that because they're afraid to be bullied by these bullies. And all I'm saying in the country, let us focus on the issues. Do not be distracted. This was all done because one statement was made. Gary Griffith is going up for St. Joseph.
Mr. Griffith, thank you so much for being with us.
Yep.
My pleasure. Take care.